usually what I'll do when I'm glazing is I keep a piece of bisqueware around that I can really try out the stamp, and even when I'm glazing I want to see if I have enough glaze in the sponge to effectively create a pattern on there. So my glazes are not formulated for brushing, they're formulated for dipping, and so I have found some glazes don't stamp well. It's like as soon as you touch, it just dries and pulls, and it only transfers part of the design. So we're going to test out this glaze. So I'm just going to take this sponge, which is really absorbent. It holds a lot of liquid. I'm going to get it wet and wring it out. And I have found it helpful to have sort of little containers of the glazing material for me to take my sponge and kind of dab it into there and really kind of load this up. And I don't want it to drip all over the piece, but I want it to be loaded up enough. I mean, you can see how much is in there. You can see how much material, how much glaze this sponge can hold. And I want there to be enough that I can get a few good stamps out of it, but not so much that it's just going to drip and run everywhere. And so I want to be able to try that out before I do it on on the final piece. So that's why I will always have a piece of bisqueware that I can just try it. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to kind of roll it. And you can see it transferred the design, but it's sort of lost some of it. Maybe there's a little too much glaze on there. I'm going to try that one again. Try it again. So you can see after a few stamps, a few trials, you know, it starts to, some of the material is used up. Some of those later ones, I'm getting a little bit more detail. But you can see I can really quickly repeat a pattern with the stamping. And this particular glaze is actually stamping really well. It's transferring just fine. If you find that you are trying this with a glaze and before the design can transfer, it's just getting stuck and not transferring the image well, what I have found to be helpful is brushing medium. And so here I have, this is CMC gum, which is, it starts as a powder and then I add water. It takes a while, you gotta let it sit and absorb all the water. And it's kind of this, you know, gooey material. And this is what's in underglaze. It's I don't know if they use CMC exactly, but a brushing material, brushing gum. And what I can do to improve the stamping quality of a glaze that maybe doesn't stamp so well is I'm just gonna add a little bit of gum. You know, I'm adding maybe a teaspoon to maybe, you know, a tablespoon or more of glaze. And what it'll do is it's going to thicken the glaze. It's going to make it kind of look the way underglaze does once it's all incorporated into there. You can see now it's starting to get thicker. And now really this is a brushable glaze. A glaze that really only dipped well can now pretty easily be brushed on without too much you know, drying of your brush. And even though it's stamped pretty well without it, I'll often try with the gum because sometimes it does just stamp better. It just, the image transfers better. You can see that the amount I mixed up is all in the sponge. One of the reasons I mix it in small batches is gum is an organic material, so you wouldn't want to like have a 5-gallon bucket of glaze and put tons of gum in it because the gum does deteriorate and it can like go rancid, and that's so I usually will just mix a small batch of it so you can see if it sponges any better.